Gmail is really dominating that market for consumer email, which is a bit odd because in most mature markets you have an oligopoly of at least 3 players, but it looks like Google is absolutely dominating this market.
With 1.5 billion users worldwide, Gmail is now the most widely used email provider in the world. But it was by no means the first. When Gmail launched in April of 2004, it became one of a number of free email services alongside Hotmail and Yahoo Mail, which were some of the first to introduce web-based email in the 1990s. By 1998, Yahoo Mail already had 12 million active users, and by 1999, Hotmail had about 30 million active members.
The Gmail project came out of something called 20% time, and this was something that was really a hallmark of Google culture in the early days. So 20% time works like this. If the rest of your time, if you took that 100% and devoted 20% of it to a project that you were interested in or excited about or passionate about or wanted to chase down, that's what you could do. And Gmail came out of that 20% time.
Paul Buchheit started working at Google in 1999 as its 23rd employee. He undertook creating Google's foray into the email world as his 20% project. At the time, the project was codenamed Caribou, an allusion to the popular comic strip Dilbert. But not everyone at Google was supportive of his vision.
Even though we know Gmail's so big and the most used email service, it almost didn't happen because there were so many arguments among executives about whether they should actually pursue it, and it wasn't quite clear how Google could benefit from an online email service when they were a search company.
One of the things that Google did was they looked at problems as projects. So they put things to what they called a toothbrush task. So if you were interacting with a problem as much as you interact with your toothbrush, then they were excited to take that on. And email certainly fit that bill because people used it all the time. And it was growing during this time.
For something that was used all the time, email in the early 2000s was still not very user-friendly. The first thing Gmail set out to improve was storage. At the time, other email providers offered up to 4 megabytes of storage.
What that meant was you had to delete all the time, or your storage would be full. And then if your parents or an employer sent you an email, it was bounced back. And the next thing you know, your phone is ringing and someone's saying, I'm trying to email you and I can't get through. So that was the first thing that they were going to address by offering 1 gigabyte of storage. This effectively meant that you would never have to delete email again. And this was revolutionary at the time. So when Gmail first released its product, it didn't even have a delete button. And this was to bring home the point that you didn't ever have to delete an email, ever.
Gmail's other big improvement? Search.
Google offered that signature clutter-free look that you saw with the Google homepage in Gmail. They also took a look at using their search engine feature as a part of the email so that if you wanted to find a specific email that someone sent you on a specific topic, it was easy. You just used the search bar to find it. And at the time, no one else offered that.
Besides storage space and search, Gmail also introduced a way of grouping messages that many of us consider standard today. Conversation threading grouped all replies to a message in one place and in order, making it easier to grasp the context of a conversation.
That was what Google was all about. Whether it was the search engine or Gmail, they wanted to make it easier for the user. When it was easier for the user, more people bought in and adopted this new technology.
What gave Gmail some of its capabilities was the fact that it used a more advanced computer language called JavaScript.
What JavaScript delivered was a much more interactive and responsive experience for the user compared to the competition, which was reloading each page, repainting each page, and it was a slower process. And so JavaScript delivered a much faster and more interactive experience for the consumer.
Gmail was launched in 2004 on April 1st. It was April Fool's Day, so people actually thought it was a hoax and it wasn't real, but it was.
Gmail initially launched in a unique manner, as invite-only.
The reason why Google, which turned out to be a wonderful marketing ploy, made it exclusive and you had to apply and you had to get on the wait list for a Gmail account is because they weren't investing enough. They couldn't scale up the back end to meet demand, and so they had to make sure that they were able to keep up with the flow, and the only way they could do that is to let people in on invitation only.
Gmail's invite-only rollout made having a Gmail address a hot commodity. Some even went as far as selling their Gmail invites on eBay. It wasn't until 2007 that Gmail finally launched to everyone without an invite.
Since about 2012, Gmail has been doing exceedingly well compared to the competition.
At Google I/O 2012, the company announced that Gmail had reached 425 million monthly active users. This put it ahead of Hotmail's self-reported 360 million monthly active users and Yahoo Mail's estimated 277 million users in 2011. At the time, there were some disputes about the exact numbers, but soon Gmail's popularity became evident. In a written statement to CNBC, Senior Director of Project Management for Yahoo Mail, Josh Jacobson, said, "Gmail has seen user growth for a number of reasons, including promotion as the default email provider on Android devices and familiarity driven by use in the enterprise and education via Chromebooks."
The main factors that have led to the rise in popularity of Gmail, first of all, Google is a central property on the web, and so there's a halo effect. And so you go to Google for YouTube, and you go for Google Apps, and for search, and for maps. Why not go for email?
Gmail went from being an underdog to the most used email service in the world because it was able to incorporate a lot of Google's core technologies.
Another example of one of our core products, which we are redesigning with AI, is Gmail. We just had a new, fresher look for Gmail, a recent redesign. Hope you're all enjoying using it. We are bringing another feature to Gmail. We call it Smart Compose. So as the name suggests, we use machine learning to start suggesting phrases for you as you type. All you need to do is to hit tab and keep auto-completing.
Some of Gmail's more recent innovations include the ability to schedule emails and confidential mode, which prevents recipients from forwarding, copying, printing, or downloading your message, though they are still able to screenshot it. Another draw? Being able to use your Gmail sign-in on other websites and apps.
When we look at sign-in with, this is where we talk about the competition between the digital dragons. And so you can sign in with Facebook, you can sign in with Amazon, you can sign in with Apple. And so the fact that you can sign in with Google allows them to compete head-to-head with those other digital dragons. And the fact that you can use Gmail or Google to sign in really reinforces the power of their control of that consumer email market. We also see their presence in the education space as leading to pull through when folks select a consumer email address. And then momentum builds more momentum. And so as you get tired of your old ISP-based email and you're embarrassed about your AOL email account, you look around and you look at what your friends are using. And if they're going to be using Gmail, you may tend to move over to Gmail yourself. They started off as a very innovative product, and they've continued to innovate.